Welcome to this week's Movie Math, where a heck of a lot of money was made this weekend. But the real question is, how many careers were made? Records were broken by new talent, talent new to the mainstream, and talent trying new things. So now that all this newness has been thrown at the wall and stuck, everyone will be watching to see how far down it slides, if at all. So first, let's take a look at the talent involved in this weekend's mega hit, 50 Shades of Grey, which seriously overperformed. Now, everyone has been expecting 2015 to be a big year for movies, but did anyone ever expect it to be so controversial? We're only a month and a half in, yet we already have two movies, American Sniper and now 50 Shades of Grey, that are actually upsetting people with their success. And interestingly, the two films opened pretty much on par, their behemoth debuts underscoring the fact that there are still some big demographics out there not being properly serviced by Hollywood. Wouldn't it be nice to focus on the positive here? That Hollywood is trying new things and expanding its horizons, which is enticing scores of new people to come out to the multiplex and not stay home and watch television for once. Or maybe these heated discussions are actually fueling these movies to record-breaking numbers. What records? Well, 50 Shades of Grey surpassed The Passion of the Christ, another controversial film, to become the biggest opening of all time for a February release. It's also the biggest Valentine's Day and President's Day movie of all time, and the fourth biggest opening ever for an R-rated film. Internationally, it's the biggest opening ever for an R-rated or R-rated equivalent film in the UK, Russia, Italy, Spain, Brazil, Mexico, Australia, the Philippines, and New Zealand. In Argentina, it's the biggest opening of all time, period. Although some of you overseas have told me you simply went out of curiosity to see what we Americans consider a dirty movie. But here's another really interesting record it broke, and that's that it's the biggest opening ever for a female director. That puts Sam Taylor Johnson out ahead of Catherine Bigelow, Angelina Jolie, Ava DuVernay, and previous record holder Catherine Hardwicke. So if Marvel's looking for a Captain Marvel director, why not call Taylor Johnson? She is married to their Quicksilver. Plus, one has to wonder what will happen with the stars Dakota Johnson and Jamie Dornan. Some savvy studio should have snapped them up while they were still cheap hires. Then again, we know they'll be busy for the next 2 years filming and promoting greenlit sequels 50 Shades Darker and 50 Shades Freed. Speaking of getting talent on the cheap, how dumb must a ton of producers feel right now for not signing Taron Egerton before this weekend? He was rumored to be up for the role of Cyclops in X-Men Apocalypse, another Fox movie like Kingsman, but as we all know, he didn't get it. Now someone's going to have to pay a lot more for the star of the other movie that overperformed this weekend. Kingsman was supposed to open in the high 20s, but instead found itself in the mid to high 30s for the 3-day weekend and with a little over 40 for the entire holiday weekend. Kingsman also did solid business overseas and is closing in on 100 million worldwide in its first weekend. That's much better than the first Matthew Vaughn and Mark Miller pairing, and even better for an action film starring Colin Firth. One has to wonder if he'll be able to continue on this path in other action movies, or if this was a one-time outing. Surely many fans hope it's the former, as surely does his agent, since this is the biggest box office debut of Firth's career. As for Samuel L. Jackson, well, we all know he's doing just fine. As for the rest of the box office, 50 Shades and Kingsman didn't leave a lot on the floor. SpongeBob Sponge Out of Water fell around 40% in its second weekend, 10% more than the Lego movie last year, which actually held on to the top spot in its second weekend thanks to weak competition. Jupiter Ascending and Seventh Son also suffered drops in the 40th percentile for their second weekends, but of course didn't have the benefit of opening at #1 like SpongeBob. It wasn't all bad news though, as American Sniper passed the 300 million mark stateside and almost has reached 400 million worldwide. And once again, Paddington and The Imitation Game enjoyed the strongest holds in the top 10, around just 25% each. Finally, it's worth noting that The Hobbit: The Battle of the Five Armies is getting awfully close to the $1 billion club. As for this coming weekend, 50 Shades and Kingsman will try to hold on to the top 2 spots and are likely to do so, as the other studios not only give them some breathing room, but avoid Oscar weekend as well. Speaking of the Oscars, 3 things. 1. Be sure to check out Beyond the Trailers coverage all week long on the main channel. 2, I'll be live tweeting the Oscars for the first time this year, so I hope you'll join me. My Twitter handle is super easy, @Grace Randolph. And 3, Movie Math will run on Tuesday next week as well, so that I can cover the Oscar winners Monday morning. And that's the weekend box office. I'm Grace Randolph, and we just did some movie math. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope we'll go beyond the trailer for these other top movies.